you knew that one belief eliminated from your brain could change the course of your reality, would you want that? It's not for everyone, only the brave. Those who want to own their life like the powerful leaders they were born to be. A pivotal moment can change everything. Now, here's the host of Crossroads to Awakening show, Wendy Paquette.
Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Crossroads to Awakening show. I'm your host, Wendy Paquette. I am a holographic mind reprogrammer. I'm helping humans stuck at a crossroads awaken to their true selves and change the world from where they stand. Because I believe as a high frequency human, how you see your life is a direct reflection of the programs etched into your brain. And those programs can easily be shifted when you see your truth for what it is. So if you'd like to access your true self, or at least see where you're missing it in your reality, then you get to reach out to me at Wendy Bruner Paquette on Instagram, on Facebook, or you can look up at Crossroads to Awakening show on Facebook and you'll find me there, but reach out. I mean, it is your responsibility to take charge of your life. What we're here to do is create the opportunity for you to see what's truly possible and then shift your perspective so you can step into your greatness. That's what we're all here for. It is an absolute luxury for you to want to have something different in your world. It is not a necessity. You do not need to do anything. You get to choose it for yourself. And I call that a luxury because it's not a need. You're not going to die if you don't change it. You may feel like you're going to, and in that case, you get to hold your own responsibility and choose something different. So today's episode is how to come clean with yourself and unmask your truth so that you can change what's not working and get on with your life, right? Because time is the most valuable thing we have on the planet, and you can't get it back no matter how hard you try, unless you hop timelines, and in which case it looks just a little different. However, you can change how you manage what's happening now, so you can see what you're truly up against in your reality. And let's face it, you have been creating all this time, no matter what. So let's move into what's truly possible. Your truth. Let's look into your truth because we want to see you clearer, right? If that's what we're here for, if you've been following this show at all, and the episodes on the show, my entire existence is dedicated to seeing your life with clarity in every given moment, which means it's going to look different. Of course it is. Why? Because it's ever evolving in this reality. We're on that spiral. We're moving through the energies and we're living at the same time. And as we're living, we're making plans and we're doing things to create in our world, or at least a lot of us are. And some of us have an interest in a multidimensional experience, right? And living in this world and creating from where we stand and not feeling like we're victimized by this reality, but we're actually creating and making the most of it, even beyond that. So that's why I lean into the luxury of your choices, because you can leave your world exactly as it is for the rest of your life, no matter what. And it wouldn't matter. It would be perfectly fine. And everything would be exactly as it is. And if you have that inkling to shift something, or you feel like, this just really isn't the reality that you'd like to live, well, we get to unmask your truth. And it really does start with taking a good hard look at what's going on in your world. I mean, really, truly, what's going on in your world? How can you know what gets to be shifted and how, what you don't even like in your world, or what you're not fond of, or what you'd like to change, if you don't take a very clear look at what you have been creating all along. So number one thing in getting clear in your reality is seeing your truth clearly, which is, let's unmask your truth. Okay, let's find 3 simple steps to unmask your truth. The first thing is you get to just sit quietly, like stop doing whatever it is you're doing and find a quiet space and sit, whether it's outside, or maybe there's a quiet room in your home, or maybe you're out in your car and you want to stop in some parking lot or a park, or, if you're near water, stop and sit near water, but find a spot where there are no distractions aside from perhaps maybe your phone, if this is what you're listening to the episode on, and sit in the quietness. Actually sit in it and be in the quiet and feel the quiet, right? The the lack of mind chatter. Just notice the things around you. How to notice the quietness is to listen. So one of the things aside from sitting quietly is listening. Listen to yourself, listen to your thoughts, listen to the birds if you're outside, listen to the sounds in your home, but just stop and listen. So the first thing is sit quietly, stop and listen. And as you're doing that, your focus is on the listening. So innately, you're going to stop thinking, because you can't think and listen at the same time. And I don't know if you've had a conversation with anyone in your world. You cannot hear someone speaking if you're talking. And you also cannot hear someone speaking if you're thinking, because it's the same thing, right? You're not actually listening if you are having a conversation in your head about what you're going to say next. So stop and sit in a quiet space and listen, right? Listen, listen, listen. And once you get into that space, then you can also get a hold of your breath. And when I say get a hold of your breath, I mean actually notice where your ins and outs are happening, right? What is your body doing right now? It's breathing in and it's breathing out. So now you're listening and you're present, right? Those are two main things. Also in that space, you get to be grounded. And what I mean by grounded is you are not only in a space that you're safe, of course, that's quiet, and you're listening and you're breathing. Now you are aware. Awareness is groundedness, what you're up to, right? I'm deliberately in this space to seek clarity. So I've deliberately taken a step to find a quiet space, sit in the silence, listen to the things around me, inside me and outside of me, and get a hold of my breath and see where it's at. And then deliberately, maybe you do a box breathing, right? 4 in, hold for 4, 4 out and hold for 4. That's the box breathing. But you're going to really get yourself grounded in that space. So that's all in the number 1 spot, right? Is to seeing yourself clearly. It's getting yourself in that space. What you want to do after that is notice. You want to notice everything that's happening. I mean, if you're going to remember something about this moment, it's going to be the magic that you witness while you're in this quiet, beautiful space and you're listening. You're going to notice that, well, perhaps your body isn't doing all the things that it gets to do. Even if you're breathing heavily, right? When I say notice your breath or get a hold of your breath, if you're breathing heavily and you're really finding your body's tense and tight and it's running without any fuel. I mean, you can connect that to whether you've had your breakfast or your meals in the day or what you've had, or if you've hydrated, or if you've got lack of sleep, but really noticing, wow, am I really like rushing through my day? Because if you suddenly stop to get clear and you're breathing heavily, you get to take note of that, right? What organs are working harder than they should be during their day? Because there is a way to move steadily through your day with grace and ease and have your health be handled. So notice what's going on. So not only are you going to notice with your body, you're also going to notice the sounds in the room, right? The sounds in the room you're in, or the sounds if you're outside, the sounds in the space that you're in. If you're in nature, are you hearing birds, right? Are you hearing if it's at night, maybe you're hearing crickets, or can you hear water, or perhaps the wind and the trees? Like, what are you hearing? Are you hearing people? Are you hearing music? Can you hear things in the distance, or perhaps cars? So many things while you're sitting in that space, you can notice that completely get ignored when you're not present, right? And as you're noticing the things outside of your area, right, in the distance or even up close, and you're noticing your breath and the physical realities that are going on in your breath, now you can notice your brain, right? What is your brain doing? Is it trying to find something to think about? Is it reaching, like going, oh, well, I have the space. I want to think about something else. Are you trying to pull things into the space that you normally don't give presence to or any attention to? You're trying to bring that in now when you've gotten a moment. So notice what your brain automatically does. Is there an autopilot to your existence, to your reality? And there is, don't get me wrong, but are you noticing it? That's the difference. And so as you're noticing all these things, you get to then deliberately acknowledge them all and then let it go. Right? Deliberately acknowledge all of these things that are happening and then let them go, as in just be now fully present with all of those things that are occurring. And stay focused on your breath. Right? So what we're doing is creating a clear, present awareness of your now. Because really, we've only just scratched the surface of what's truly possible. But if you're running throughout your day, catching up with yourself is hard enough. I mean, imagine your sleep, right? So this is giving you a deliberate pause, and you might have only been sitting there for 5 minutes and noticed all these things. So that's a beautiful indicator of how your world is. And now we're going to have that space of deliberate declaration to see yourself clearly and unmask what's really going on. Now you get to notice, while you're unmasking this truth, is your emotions. This is a very large aspect to uncovering your truth, to unmasking your truth, is to acknowledge your emotions. So I would say that would be step 3. Stand in your space or sit in your space after acknowledging all the things that you're now aware of. Allow your emotions to be present and deliberately ask, what are you hiding from yourself? Right? What are you hiding? What is in the way with your emotions when they're present to what you really want? When you're hiding emotions, perhaps you're hiding some sadness, some deep, deep sadness, that you are just running so fast in your life and so hard in your life that you don't even want to know it, so you don't. Right? So really, truly get connected with what your emotions are telling you, because if you're in this space and you've acknowledged all the things we've discussed earlier, and now you're allowing your emotions to show you where they are, it might be scary for someone to finally be present with themselves and notice their emotions. It might be scary for you to allow those emotions to surface. And perhaps that piece is the piece of clarity that you get to have in order to set yourself free. And wouldn't that be beautiful? You don't have to pay anyone for that. You don't have to go to a therapist or, spend time on medication. If you acknowledge and sit with your emotions to set them free, because illnesses come from when you don't set them free. So, right, we're here to get absolute clarity and unmask your truth so that you can be free. Truly free. So in this space where we have now acknowledged all these things, right? We've paused, we've breathed, we've allowed ourselves to notice the sounds outside of our body and the sounds inside of our body. Now we're allowing ourselves to acknowledge the emotions that come up from our heart, right? They come from somewhere. So if we have to place them to come from something, we're going to come from our heart and sit in the space of allowance to acknowledge any of the emotions that we have suppressed up until now, of course. So we're going to be walking into a break. And if you're listening to this, keep sitting with this space that you're in and allow yourself to notice even greater aspects of your now. And in particular, notice your emotions, really get clear. And if you have a pen and paper in hand, or if not, doesn't matter, just acknowledge the emotions that are coming up. Because sometimes when we allow our emotions to come up and we feel them, we can set them free. So if you find yourself coming to tears it seems like for no reason. It's not. Allow yourself to come to tears. If you come to joy, or if you come to anger of something, allow yourself to experience those emotions until they pass. Don't put your brain on them and start thinking about things. Just allow the emotion to show itself, and then breathe through it and acknowledge that emotion and allow it to leave your body. And so we're going to walk into a break. And while we're on the break, just keep breathing. Keep breathing. Do box breathing. Go in for 4, hold out for 4, hold, right? 4 counts of 4. And walk through all these emotions if they happen to arise. If not, sit in as clean a space as you can and just breathe and notice your breath and notice the sounds that you're hearing. And when we're back after the break, we're going to manage those things that popped up. So we'll see you in a minute. We'll be right back. This is the Crossroads to Awakening Show.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the Crossroads to Awakening.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Crossroads to Awakening show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Now back to the program.
Okay, welcome back. So you get to be still sitting in your space and enjoying the silence, if there's silence, or perhaps the nature sounds, wherever you are sitting. We've now gotten to a space where we're addressing and acknowledging our emotions and really sitting with what we've been hiding in our everyday, because let's face it, there's a lot of emotions that we're all going through, especially in this day and time, right? We're in 2021 and the pandemic has been moving through for quite some time. And there's a lot of us struggling in our emotional space as to what we're creating, what we're being in the world, and how we're living, because what once was normal to us, perhaps even what we took for granted, is now being, revamped or changed or let go of or amplified. And we get to acknowledge all of those things. That is part of our truth. We get to move through that in order to get to the other side. So our emotions are a clear indicator on where we truly are and what could be in our way from creating a plentiful state of mind, right? It's not lost on anyone that this pandemic has really been different in all parts of the world. And wherever we are, whatever we're creating, whatever we're up to, we get to handle it and see the gifts in it and acknowledge what's going on and stand in our power no matter what. Because if you're not, what are you standing for? Right? So unleashing and unlocking these emotions to acknowledge them and set them free sets your body free. Right? Because the one thing that the pandemic is all about a virus or, of COVID of some form. And what we could be creating by holding in all of our emotions is other ailments that have nothing to do with COVID. They have everything to do with what our body is doing with those emotions that we are harboring, that we're hiding, and that we're stuffing down, right? So in this space, in order to unmask your truth, you get to allow these emotions to be set free, or at least acknowledge them so that you know they're there, right? You're not stuffing them in and creating more illnesses that are not even, serving you in any way. And in order to notice your truth, your emotions are going to give you the greatest indicator that you could have, right? There's multiple aspects to your truth. One is where you are emotionally. Another is where you are physically. And also another is what your surroundings are telling you, right? Because we're manifesting all of the physical surroundings that we're creating that are in our space, whether it's with our friends and family, or whether it's with our actual physical surroundings, maybe it's a mess, right? Maybe your home's a mess and you're just ignoring all of it because you don't want to see the mess, right? But that translates with your emotions, because often when our emotions are a mess, we don't want to see that either. And let's be fair, the reason that we don't want to is because it's self-judgment. We're in self-judgment of our own emotions and what could be wrong. And we don't want others to perhaps think ill of us. So we hide it. I mean, it's normal. It's human nature, but it's very dangerous, right? That's a dangerous space to be in. So acknowledging our emotions. Listen, if you require special attention from an actual doctor that can handle your emotions with you, if they're that deep, then please seek whatever professional support you require. If your emotions are causing you the greatest pain, that isn't something that you should let slide. I'm not a doctor and I don't profess to be one, but I do know if you require true support, you get to have it. And so acknowledge the emotions and then give yourself the gift of support from a professional so that you can be free, right? Because emotions will set you free. They'll also make you sick, right? So your choice is keep hiding them and then deal with the consequences of that hiding, or acknowledge them and seek support so you can be free, right? So let's keep moving, because seeing our truth and knowing what it isn't a secret to the universe. It isn't a secret to the universe. So your truth isn't a secret to the universe. It is everywhere around you. So if you're pretending not to know what your emotions are telling you, then that's where you get to look around and start acknowledging all the things in your world that are indicating what's not working for you, because the universe knows everything that's happening because you are the universe. So you can't hide your emotions from the universe. You cannot hide what's in the way. You cannot hide what ails you or what causes you pain, because you're going to see it around you. And how is in everyone else, right? And it's also in your manifested physical reality as well. So if you're noticing things in your physical world that aren't working, you're also noticing a reflection of your insides, right? Of what's on the inside. That is the oneness reality, where your inner world is reflected in your outer world. So that is the case. What in your world isn't working, right? Let's lean into, okay, I know this can get deep and potentially a little scary for some, but what if we started to look at your relationships? What relationships in your world aren't working, right? I mean, if you've been struggling and on lockdown for nearly 2 years, you get to really have a hard look at your family relationships and how they are functioning. Perhaps you solved a lot of, the things that might have gotten in the way before and have recreated a great, secure relationship in your family, or the opposite. Maybe it's so blatantly obvious that it's not working that you're struggling yet further into that space. And instead of ignoring it, you get to acknowledge it, right? You get to actually see what's not working, because now is the time. If time can't be given back to you, then how much time are you going to spend wasting in the space where you're not satisfied, where you're not happy, right? So your truth, known by the universe, is going to reflect your inner being, your inner way of being on your outside. So that's going to be with your relationships. you get to write down at least 10 people in your world that you are either friends with or married to or in a relationship with in some way. Maybe it's with your work or you own a business, or perhaps it's your siblings, whomever that may be, and write down whether you have a 10 relationship with them, meaning it's a 10 out of 10. Everything is amazing. You have a completely open, honest, powerful relationship, or you don't. It's like I always say, 99% or 100, two completely different numbers, both will get you in two different areas of existence, right? 100% is all the way in alignment, get you where you're headed, or you're already there. And 99 is 1% different. 1% on the road to the difference, like the boat leaving the dock, right? Setting the GPS, 1% out 100 or 1,000 miles will definitely take you in a completely different direction and potentially land in a different country, if that's the case. So it does not get you the same results that you're after if you allow yourself to be out of alignment. So let's look at your relationships and look at the truth to them, right? Where is it working? And can it be enhanced? Or where isn't it working? And is it worth the time and effort to correct it? And if so, what are you doing about it? Because it's one thing to say that it's not working, that you're going to change it. It's another thing to actually change it, right? One is lip service and the other is actualization, which turns into manifestation. So the universe knows. I mean, we are the universe. We are the sun, the moon, the stars, right? We are everything that we see. So if you want to know your truth, this is the biggest secret. Look around you, right? Look around you. Look at your relationships. Look at your physical reality. What is it actually telling you? Because whatever it looks like, listen, if your reality is clean and tidy, then you have some alignment happening because it's clean and tidy, not because you spend all day cleaning it, but because when you're in it, it is running smoothly. It's working. It's functional, right? There's so much more to clean and tidy than most people think. And if you're looking at your relationships, where are they clean and tidy? Like, what's up with them, right? There's so many things to look at. I mean, I realize in this time we're in right now through the pandemic that there's a lot of opposite opinions as to where our reality is headed. There's talk about vaccinations. There's talk about all kinds of things. And so many people are on opposing thoughts, and they're creating rifts and relationships that they never thought that they would have, right? So there's no wrongness in that. The difference being compassion is the number one way to honor everyone and their opinion, right? Because if we are, and that we are, one, and we're seeing our physical reality, which is a reflection of our inner reality, then what we're seeing when we have a broken relationship is something that we can acknowledge as our own, that we created. And how would you like to manage that? Right? How would you like to manage that relationship isn't working and honor it yet still? Right? And that's through compassion. So there's a very large element of compassion that we all get to embody in this reality, and especially with ourselves. When you can be compassionate with yourself, to allow yourself to have your own opinions and your own truths and your own decisions and your own, everything, then you can look and be free from all the things that are standing in your way, right? Once you've acknowledged your emotions, you could seek support. Once you've acknowledged that there's misunderstandings or misdirected ideas in your relationships, then you can be compassionate towards yourself and towards them because they have their own as well. Compassion will set you free as well, right? Instead of trying to make someone believe in your point of view, you can set them free by understanding that they get to have their own as a unique individual in themselves. And that as they are a reflection of you, they have different thoughts. Like you have different thoughts, so they have different thoughts as well. They're allowed to exemplify a different parallel or a different timeline and set you free, right? You can be an allowance of someone else's opinion just because it doesn't match yours. It doesn't have to create a negative response. It can create something that is birthed in compassion and boils down to love. And that changes everything. So in this moment, it's about inventorying your reality. So before we go into our next break, I want you to sit in this space yet still. And there's a lot of chaos. I get it. But start with your relationships with the people in your world, because nothing happens alone, right? We do everything together. And notate who you can be compassionate towards, not only towards yourself first, but who can you be compassionate towards because their life choices are different than yours, and perhaps they don't all match up, and that gets to be okay, right? We get to set ourselves free. Instead of being in conflict with one another, we get to be in harmony because we are one, and it does matter. So take the moment while we're on this break to see where you can apply compassion, firstly to yourself, and then to others and to situations in your reality, so that you can set all of that free and stop trying to control things that are out of your control. You can control your compassion, right? You can control your love. You control all those things, and being it first is how you will see it in your reality. So let's go into our second break. And this topic feels so heavy, but it's so required right now. So take the time to acknowledge yourself. We're getting to it. We're getting to the truth of you. We're unmasking your truth. And what you'll see by the end of this episode is what's possible for you next. So we'll go into this break and we'll see you just after. The Crossroads to Awakening show. We do all kinds of fun things here on the Inspired Choices Network. And don't forget to download the app if you have Apple or Android. So I'll see you in a minute.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the Crossroads to Awakening. This is the Crossroads to Awakening show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Now back to the program.
Okay, so we're going to lighten it up. Trust me, it comes, but this energy is heavy and difficult because we've all been holding on to it for such a long time that we've forgotten to set it free. So that freedom is coming. So now that you've acknowledged your emotions, hopefully you have, and if you haven't, you get to, and acknowledge some of the relationships, and you've brought in the compassion part, you get to realize that as we're all creating something moving forward, there's things that get to be freed in order for us to embody more, if that makes sense. So when we're looking at all the things in our reality that we just don't want anymore, right? Let's do an inventory of all the things we really want in our world, what we would really like to experience. And now if you haven't, embodied gratitude for your world already based on what this pandemic has created for us, now's the time, right? Let's stop ignoring all the things that are truly going on in our hearts and in our minds and get clear, right? Unmask your truth and then keep going, because we have a world of living to have before, we leave this planet. So while we're sitting in this space, and now we've acknowledged many things, right? Inside and outside, and with the relationships in our world, and allowed our emotions to surface, we get to not handle them as in pack them back up and put them away. But if you require a good cry, let it rip. Because getting it out of your system, when you cry, it's a chemical release from your body, a toxic release from your body from emotions that have been building up or that have been created. Have a good cry. If you're not alone, hop in your car, go for a drive somewhere familiar, or have a park, and then just let it rip, right? Cry it out, scream it out, but set those emotions free, because they're the source of a lot of created anxiety, right? And creative stuckness. So we're going to set all those emotions free so that we have room for more, right? We're going to speak into how unmasking really is a lot of letting go, and I'd say like trimming the fat off of the meat, right? So you have this beautiful life, and if you haven't actualized it, there's a few things that probably get to go in order for you to create space for more. So a lot of times these emotions, Christine, I'm just reading your cry or poop. Yeah. Listen, a lot of people poop. It just happens. There's multiple ways to release from your body, and pooping is definitely one of them. But it's either going to come from the top or the bottom. And some people hold on for so long, they create themselves not to be able to poop. So that's a whole new show altogether. But yes, whatever works for you, alleviate yourself, eliminate all those emotions, whatever it looks like, and set them free and create space for more possibilities, more joy, more love, more compassion. And let's move this world into a new era. And rightfully so, oneness is created by you acknowledging you, moving out the old and bringing in the new for yourself. You get to experience your world because you're shifting regularly and you're acknowledging yourself, what's working and what's not working, so that you can have something different. No one outside of you can experience any changes unless you do. It's this, what is the saying? If you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting change, it's the equality, like the same thing as insanity. You get to create a change, a real living, breathing, knowledgeable change. And if it's what's not working, what are you afraid of? I mean, most people are terrified of the pandemic, right? They're terrified of COVID. They're terrified of vaccination. They're terrified of all kinds of things. Hell, listen, if you're not actually handling your life, you should be terrified of that. Screw the pandemic, right? You've got a life to live. And if you can't live it and you're worried about the things that are outside of you that you can't change, fear isn't real unless you make it so. So handle those things. Right? If you're worried about getting sick because you think you're going to die from COVID, then what do you get to do? Spend all of your days being terrified of COVID and hoping you don't get it? Or freaking turn around, look in the mirror, start addressing your health and get a handle on the things that would cause you normally to go down if you were to get the COVID virus now? Or, right, implement your own safeguarded living, right? Get healthy. Exercise, breathe, meditate, drink a lot of water, handle your consumption of food or handle your consumption of alcohol, whatever, or substances that you've been using to hide from your emotions, and get a handle on it and be empowered so that this life that you're living matters. It's not spent worried about something that you cannot change. You may go the rest of your life worrying about a freaking virus that you will never get. And at the end of your life, right, when you face yourself, what are you going to do? Have regrets? Oh, I should have just taken care of myself and got on with my life and been the change I'd like to see in the world. Or I was that peon terrified of my own freaking shadow, right? It's a tough love moment. So handle all of it and get clear. What could possibly happen? A relationship could break up, right? Something that's been causing you pain for maybe many years of your life, it could suddenly break up and you could find yourself free. And you could still love and be compassionate towards the other person because it's just not working anyway. And you may find someone that it would work with, right? Or maybe you find yourself in the space of being free where you can be alone and create a life of possibility where aloneness isn't lonely. It's being alone in power. It's enjoying the free time, the free space, the silence, the gift you be to the world in the space that's yours. So this is the time where getting clear and unmasking all of your truths are in your face with this episode. The only person that's going to suffer by not getting true with yourself is you. That's the only person that you know of. Really, truly. Everyone else has their own choices, which you cannot control. Maybe when you have children, yes, absolutely, until they're the age of controlling their own choices. But until then, all choices and all experience is created by you. And you're at the helm of your boat. Where are you driving it? Or are you driving it at all? Maybe you're sitting at the back of the boat pouting because the boat's not going where you want it to go. Or maybe you're standing at the front, much like, putting the Titanic moment where they're standing at the front with their arms open wide. They're the king of the world, right? You don't have to stand on the Titanic and go down with it. You can stand as king of your own world, a queen of your own world, and create from that space. So unmask the truth of where you'd like to go. And, I'm not even judging you if you'd rather just stay inside and lock yourself in and not do or be anything, but have a life of, quiet solitude, hopefully not in fear, but with whatever it looks like. It doesn't have to be out in the world, changing the world like crazy. You get to change your world. And if that's what you'd like to do, was have a quiet existence where you're not out leading the pack into something different, that's amazing. And I acknowledge you for that, right? And you get to do it lovingly, compassionately, not judging yourself or others. Because oftentimes when you're that quiet person in the corner, you're judging the shit out of everybody else and their choices because of a fear, right? Only because of a fear, not because it's true, but because you have a fear of something might happen. So if you're going to live this quiet solitude life, I acknowledge you. Do it with compassion. Do it with grace. Do it with love, right? And be in support of other people from a compassionate space. It all works. Like, we all get to choose how we're living, but unmasking your truth is acknowledging that, saying it out loud to yourself and allowing yourself to have it with joy. You can still create a life of love and joy doing those things. It doesn't have to be out on the front lines, creating something new from the very, moment you open your mouth. You can do it however you like, but you get to do it with compassion. You get to acknowledge all the emotions. And if you're hiding in fear, acknowledge that, because that's not living, right? You're just hiding. And I'm certain you don't want to get to the end of your life not having lived, like fully lived. If one of my friends whom I've had since I was a teenager lives his life fully every single day, has faced cancer multiple times and beat it, and whose primary focus is living each day, at the end of the day saying that was a day well lived, not a life well lived. That's at the end of your life, but a day well lived every single day. Now imagine beating cancer twice and being faced with your own mortality, to come out the other side to know that living every day well, meaning compassionately, lovingly, at your own edge of experience, maybe going out for a walk or a bike ride, or acknowledging the nature that you live in. That's a day well lived. You didn't miss a thing. Maybe you connected with family or friends, or had special moments that you've not had before with some of the people that are in your world. A day well lived gets to be acknowledged at the end of the day, right? Not a day well lived in fear. There's no such thing. That's an oxymoronic statement. So look at yourself in your life. And while you're in this moment, right, in this space that you've chosen to acknowledge what's happening, unmasking your truth is knowing, God, what am I really doing right now? What am I really doing in my world? And what part of this can I change? Because there are many, many, many aspects that can be changed right now that will cause you to be joyful, live healthy and happy. And healthy is a state of mind, right? If you're not acknowledging some of the things that are broken in your health, then you're only setting yourself up for disaster. But maybe a healthy state of mind is, wow, you know what? I get to handle this. Well, let's talk into the poop thing, constipation, or I get to handle this, whatever it is, whatever's in the way, the lung issues. You got a cough that you don't know where it's coming from. It's coming from somewhere, right? You got heart palpitations that you just are finally acknowledging and you haven't told anybody yet. Listen, handle all those things, because we matter, you matter, and your life matters, and you get to live full out, right? So we're walking into our final break. And as we're acknowledging all of ourselves, we're truly going to get to the space where we get to pop out of this, because it's a very meditative space to be in, to acknowledge all these things, to set our emotions free, right? For seeing our truth for what it is, our truth, not someone else's, right? Not a self ignored, someone else's told me what to do truth, but our truth. What do we really want? If we get to write the script of our life, what does it really sound like and look like? And we get to acknowledge what doesn't work now and what we'd like to have based on what we're living, and then make some changes. So we're going to go into our final break. And now I want you to sit in the space of acknowledgement. Acknowledge yourself for getting all this far, like going all the way, acknowledging all the things. If you did, I acknowledge you. And if you didn't, and you want to, and you just didn't, then take this episode and re-listen to it and go sit and find a space and allow the words to penetrate you, to allow yourself to see. Pause it if you must, to think of all these things. Bring a pen and paper, write down all the things that will set you free, and allow yourself that gift, because it's truly possible. So we're going to go into a break, and I want you just to keep breathing, right? This is the crossroads to awakening, where you have a choice and you get to choose, and we won't judge you either way. I won't judge you either way. So on the crossroads to awakening, we move into channeling our soul. And that's what we'll talk about next. Channeling your soul is having everything you want and not being regretful of all the things that you say or experience, but truly leaning in to what your higher self dropped into your body right now would say to you if your life isn't truly working, right? So as we come back, we will be closing out our final episode on the Crossroads to Awakening show, because we're moving into channeling your soul with Wendy Paquette. That's what we're doing. And we will see you after this break, so we can share that all with you. Just breathe.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the Crossroads to Awakening. This is the Crossroads to Awakening show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Now back to the program.
Okay, so now we're at that space where we've uncovered and unleashed and unlocked all these things that we are now aware of in a very short period of time. Like literally, if you even gave yourself, 15 minutes to do this, you would be shocked at what you would unveil about your reality right now. And what you get to know is shifting perspective is the key, right? Shifting perspective will change everything. And that comes from whether you shift it on your own, like ask yourself questions and allow yourself to source the answers. So what I mean by that is really get clear when you're in the space of what you see is not working or what you don't really want, acknowledge it, and then ask a question. It would be, what do I get to do next? What would work for me here? What do I need to know? Or where do I go? All these things. What would support me right now? There are so many questions you can ask yourself. And then you get to be open to receiving the answer. And when I say receiving it, in the moment that you're in, when you're in a meditative state, the answer is available to you. Your soul, and as we say, if we're only partially here, right? If we're using our brain, our actual brain, we're only partially here. We're not accessing all that is. We're accessing what we've been taught up until this moment in our brain and what we've taught our brain thus far. And for some people, that's a lot, right? Well-educated, well-lived humans have a lot of information stored in their brain. But what you actually have access to is all of everything, all knowledge of all past, present, and future at all times. with your soul. So being in that meditative state, getting into the state of gratitude, of compassion and possibility, and beyond the self-judgment or judgment outside of you space, what you're gifting yourself is access to infinite knowledge, right? The infinite knowledge where you can receive the answer instantaneously for your questions. You can, shifting timelines is something which we'll get deeper into in channeling your soul, but you have access to those answers now. The only thing that stops you from knowing what those answers are is your thought that you don't have it, you don't want it, you don't need it, or it's not possible. All those blocking thoughts. But what if you finally said, fine, I'm open, even get angry and pissed at yourself and go, I'm open to all the answers. I want the answers now, make a massive demand. The soul of you will deliver. The soul of you will deliver. Now, I found sometimes in my own experience that delivery, it may come instantaneously, or maybe I'm meditating in the bathroom and I ask some questions. I may not receive it in that instant. I may get out of the tub and go about my business during the day, doing whatever I have set up for myself to do. And suddenly someone will message me or call me, or something will come up on the internet, or I'll be scrolling through Instagram and I'll see maybe an ad for something, or one of my friends will post something. It's all available, all of it. It'll be something that I've never seen before and thought, oh my goodness, I was just asking about this, right? And then I acknowledge that I called it in. Just because you receive information from outside of you doesn't mean it's not from you, because you're sourcing it, you're pulling in, just like manifestation. What you think about creates, the questions you ask sources information for you to answer those things, but you get to fully unmask your truth first. Ask some honest questions to serve you, right? Stop pretending that your life is fine and those things are just going to disappear. They are not going to disappear. They're just going to get fully pressed into the fabric of your reality. And so if you'd like to know more about how to do any of this, then you get to find me on Facebook and reach out to me, or look up Channeling Your Soul with Wendy Paquette. You get to find where you can learn to channel your soul at any given time. It's available for everyone. The book that I have coming out, it is going to teach you how to do it. And the mere book itself will actually cause transformation if you can get through it. That's the powerful piece. If you can get through the book, however long it takes you, it will actually cause transformation. It is that multidimensional in the space. So being that you know that, you have choice. And if you don't want to change anything, you don't have to. You can keep going about your life, doing what you're doing, and do it with compassion and with love and without the self-judgment, so that you can be free and so can others. Because your freedom, how you're feeling in your reality and what you're creating for yourself will create for others. And that's what matters. Your truth matters. It matters so much to you that you acknowledge what's real and true and unmask it for all that is, so that you can be free, right? Follow the steps of getting clear. It's not hard to unmask your truth. It's just you being present with you, noticing your reality and what you've created, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? All of it is relative to what you get to create in this world. And the things that get to change, you get to acknowledge those things too. And I'll tell you, there are some big changes for a lot of people. And your health maybe is one of it. Connection to others, support, creating with multiple people instead of being all by yourself all the time and thinking that you've got to be on top. There's no such thing, right? We're all in this world, on this planet, as individuated humans, and we get to live fully, completely. So thank you so very much for following me on this Crossroads to Awakening journey, and find me at Wendy Paquette, Channeling Your Soul, because we're going to go even further. It's all possible. You just get to be curious. So much love and so much gratitude for this past. I love you so much. We'll see See you on the flip.
Thank you for choosing to listen to the Crossroads to Awakening radio show. Wendy Paquette will return next Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We look forward to you joining us again. Until then, enjoy your journey and we'll meet you at the crossroads.